I should point out that Paul is responsible for the fact that your stomach is rumbling now, and that I'm in front of you for a few minutes. I'll move this as fast as I can, because he was the one who reacted to my phone call. It was saying, this sounds like an interesting idea, send me some stuff, and then said, gee, you ought to come to this meeting. And I'd also like to thank Robert Eisner, who I met at a meeting in New Haven, who also said, there's this meeting coming up that you really ought to go to. So I'm here. They're responsible for my being here, and if you're angry with somebody, you'll be angry with them. I want to start out by recommending that all of you should be getting a Pioneer Award. I recognize that Briggs is the pioneer, but you should all be getting a Pioneer Award because you're all on the leading edge of getting us to a society which does not have material growth. My favorite economist, or one of my favorite economists, is a man named Kenneth Boulding, who's a sort of a far-out economist, but he's respected. And he says, anyone who believes in eternal material growth on a finite planet is either a madman or an economist. So, within a relatively short period of a couple hundred years, we've got to be at a point where there is no waste. We've got to end waste. It just can't happen anymore. And that's partly why I'm excited about having this technology. I also was a little nervous because our honoree today said that he wanted all the bottle caps to do art projects for kids. But we've negotiated before this because I had a machine out there that's full of bottle caps and it just turned them all into diesel fuel. And therefore not much left for the kids. But we've negotiated, we've agreed, there's enough for both of them. So relax. Briggs, you will have plenty of bottle caps. I will use as many as I can. Congratulations to the new board. And it's exciting to hear the commissioner. I mean, these are far out ideas. I work in several other states as well, and you're blessed with the commissioner that you have here. I want to do about 8 or 9 slides, and then open it up for conversation, because what we're talking about is something very simple here. Let me see if I know how do I move this ahead. Ready? Good. I got 3 different machines here. I don't know which one to push. Not that one. This one. Okay. Okay, and the top one?
No, it's the side one.
There you go. This is, that's my name. I'm sorry it's dark on the side there. But we're about turning plastic into oil. Specifically, we're particularly interested in plastic 4, 5, and 6. We can do 1 and 2, but probably you're doing better with something else with 1 and 2. But anyway, thank you for this opportunity to talk about this. Once again, sorry about the darkness. The Blessed Company has been manufacturing machines to transform plastic into oil for about 10 years. They have some 60 major sites in Japan. They've got sites in Australia and in Africa and India. They just started doing sales in this country starting in March of this year. We will have our first installation in January in Buffalo. You're all invited. It's lovely in Buffalo in January. It's very cheap. You don't need to bring your bug spray. You don't need to bring your suntan lotion. Just a couple extra pair of pants to wear. We can process about 85% on our machines of the plastic that's in a waste stream. And that is something like 10%, give or take, a little, of all plastic. This is why I was obnoxious and said to the commissioner, we might be able to get you from 30 to 40. Potentially, we can do about 10% of the waste stream. We can turn it into diesel fuel. If you run it through our machines, it's worth about $600 a ton, as opposed to other values for that kind of plastic. Here's the science behind it. When you heat plastic to 700 degrees, all the chemistry that, you started out with diesel, with petroleum, and you put some fancy chemistry into it, and you came up with something like this, or all the other plastic bags, all sorts of things. When you hit 700 degrees approximately, all the chemistry goes poof, it's just gone. And when you cool it again, the vapor again, you have a synthetic fuel oil that is very close to diesel in chemical analysis, and usable directly as diesel or usable as fuel oil. Or you can further refine it, because what you've done here is like a little oil refinery. We are a little oil refinery. We just make it into the crude oil, that you could do it again and make it into diesel and gasoline, etc. if you want to go further. Our basic formula, is there a pointer on it too? No? Sorry about that. Don't push buttons, you don't know what they are. You guys know how to get rid of that? Anyway. 8.2 pounds of plastic plus 25 cents of energy. Normally electricity, but there are operations that use solar to produce it. Is a gallon of oil. That translated into tons, that's a ton of plastic, and $60 worth of energy gives you 245 gallons of oil, or a net of $600. That's assuming that you use $60 of that to go back and do the processing of the stuff. Now,
Hit escape on the computer.
hit escape on the computer. Escape, where is it? Oh, great. Thanks. What do we do without EPA? You're vital. Mr. Perry, I don't agree with you.
That was interesting.
These are the kinds of plastics that we can recycle. I mean, you probably, when I say 4, 5, and 6, you know what that means, but most people need to go back and to say, well, it's the sort of bags around shirts and clothing, it's hard plastic containers of various kinds. It's a lot of the plastic that doesn't have a whole lot of value for recycling outside of this purpose. Now, here's what a machine looks like. Essentially over here you've got a hopper that's got ground chopped up plastic. We can use pieces of maybe an inch square or so. It needs to be dry. We can't handle water. It does not have to be perfectly clean. If there's a little ketchup left on the, we don't care, or mayonnaise or yogurt, whatever it is, that's fine. It runs through a heating source. We heat it up to melt it in here. We vaporize it over here. We condense it here, and it goes into a tank, an oil tank. There are some off gases that come off it. If you have a small unit, we run them into a catalytic converter. It's called an off gas filter here. So you produce CO2 mainly is the main issue. 1% of this ends up here in the residue tank. And that's a chemically inert, carbon-rich gunk. It's probably a special name, but we don't know what it is. Anyway, it's a very small amount. You could use it in roads, I guess, or you have to get rid of that. The off gases include things like benzene and toluene. If you have a big unit, save them, sell them. If you have a small unit, don't worry about it. It's too much trouble to bother with. This is what a machine looks like. Out on the table here, we've made some diesel fuel for this morning. This is just a demonstration unit. This is the smallest of the units that range from, this is 11 pounds an hour. We run up to 5 tons a day units. What we tell people, we have a bid out and negotiating a guy in upstate New York where we're putting in 6 of our machines in series because he's taking plastic from the paper mills and he has about 20 tons a day to deal with. So we say, look, get one, make it work. If you can specialize the plastic that you're using, and put one in one machine and one in another, we can fine tune the machines and make them a little more efficient, so that you're producing it, or a special product. Our new site in Buffalo, which comes on in January, will be dealing with styrofoam. It doesn't produce oil in this case, it produces styrofoam monomer, which is then you take back to the styrofoam company and they make more styrofoam. We got 7 scalable models. The smallest one was 250 pounds and the biggest one 5 tons. They're energy efficient. They're going to be manufactured in Toronto starting next summer. So the delivery times will be cut down a lot from Japan. And our ability to specialize machines specific to local needs will be a lot easier. Dealing with Japan is tedious. And we're opening up in Buffalo, the first one in January. A couple of pictures of an actual machine in operation. That's a price list that I put in here. This little one you saw is $189,000. Payback terms at about 1 year and 3 months. The bigger ones are $600 and $1,200 at $349 and $549. Payback period 1 year and just a little bit. So after 1 year you pay for the machine. This is they crush the plastic. They granulate. In this case, they granulate it even finer than you actually have to. It goes into the processor. This 240, which is 8 feet long by 8 feet wide by 6 feet high. Our units are all self-contained. They arrive at your site like that. You put them on a stable pad someplace, plug them in the wall, and figure out how you're going to feed plastic into the top of them, into that hopper, and they're ready to go. There's very little training, no continuous, you don't have to have a person there monitoring them. They have controls on them. They'll beep you, they'll tell you if you've got a problem with them. You need to have somebody come by, check them a couple times a day. Otherwise, they operate on their own. In this case, there's the oil coming out of it. Here's the machine that takes the next step, puts it into kerosene, gasoline. This is the next oil refinery right there. There's a whole oil refinery right there in a corner of a room. And what was that? That's it. Oh no, excuse me. This is the system they use to heat in that plant. They have these solar panels that provide the heat to run the whole system, and that's what I wanted to say. That's it. It is decidedly simple. I keep blaming myself. If I'd have paid attention in high school chemistry class, I could have figured this out. That there was a really cute girl. Were you that? I'm sorry.
Aren't you raised on Long Island?
No, this was in Falls Village, Connecticut.
Never been there.
Okay.
Question about your pricing. Does the pricing include the final segment of the processing system of being able to differentiate, separate into the oil, the diesel and the gasoline?
No, that's additional. Most people don't do that. They use it as either fuel oil or diesel. In Japan, they go the next step quite often, and they put it right in their cars. I don't know how they deal with it. We will pay if we reach a point of production enough, so it's a problem, we'll pay the state taxes, don't worry, taxes. but it's not a problem we've faced yet.
Are there in Connecticut talking with folks like Paul or other MRFs, or have your counterparts in other countries gone to MRF operators and said, give us your plastic? Have you started having...
Well, we've gone to the MRF operators and say, install our machines.
So they would be doing it?
They would be doing it. We sell machines. Now, we have some people that we can call upon to say, look, here's the best way to chop it up and run it up the machine. And we have some people who say, here's a good market for it at the other end. But that would be the MRF's responsibility, would be to figure out how to get the plastic in it and how to get the oil sold. And this guy in upstate New York, if he goes through, he'll have 4,000 gallons of oil a day to deal with. He likes that as a problem. You know,
Is he operating MRF or is he separate, or?
he operates, currently he takes, from the paper mills, he takes the short fiber stuff that cannot be reused, which is a certain portion of the reused paper. He dries it and uses it for cattle bedding. Because you used to use, I'm a dairy farmer among other things, you used to use sawdust, much too expensive now. You know, you pelletize it for stoves, you do all kinds of other things with it. You can't afford to put it on your cows. So, there were several. Yes, ma'am.
What is the energy invested for energy return? In other words,
Okay,
how
you
much energy
get, for 25 cents, you get a gallon of diesel fuel.
But I'm looking at not in terms of cost, but in terms of how much energy input's needed in order to get, yeah.
Oh, well, 25 cents is assuming a kilowatt hour is 7, so that's 4 kilowatt hours to produce a gallon. 4 times 7, 20, that's a little less than that, 6.5.
4 kilowatts?
Yeah.
Or 4 kilowatt hours? 4 kilowatt hours?
Kilowatt hours, I believe.
They're very different.
If I'm wrong, you should leave me a card or something, I can get you the exact numbers on all that stuff. Processing it through this rather ancient head is not recommended. Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to know where you're buying electricity for 7 cents a kilowatt hour.
And not here, you could.
Yeah, but
Actually, in upstate New York, you can get it for 3.
how difficult is it to find an aftermarket for the oil?
It's not a problem that we've dealt with in this country yet. I don't anticipate it. But in the first place, this is heating fuel and you can sell it, no questions, no problems, no nothing. If you can use it on off-road vehicles, so if you're running an operation like this, which has got front-end loaders and tractors and things, you can use it right there. At some point, you get widespread. My friend in upstate New York who's talking about it has a number of other facilities he's planning to sell it to.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with, on the other side, the regulatory side of things, do you have to go through the federal government to get licenses to resell
No.
this oil, or the state has to license you, or?
Well, I've talked to the Robert Eisner equivalent in Pennsylvania, New York State, and Connecticut. And they've all said that what they would expect from somebody like Paul is a letter saying, we want to do this, is it okay? Essentially. And specifying, here's what we're going to do. And they say there won't be any problem. Now, you know, having the state government say there won't be any problem theoretically, and having it actually, you know, approved, there may be a slight difference there, but I'm assuming almost none. Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the sensitivity of the input to moisture. What else?
Moisture's a big problem. Our other danger is the number 3s, because they get chlorine. And in order to do chlorine, you have to go to a whole other generation of processing outside it, and it just, the economics of it go out the door. Now, we're set up so that if you have a few pieces of PVC pipe in your waste, that's no problem. Our existing catalytic converter will handle it. If you ran a full unit, the machine would shut down. You'd have to clean it out. But that chlorine gas is just, people get sick and tired of evacuating the county. After about the second time. Yes, ma'am.
What about the air emissions that may come off of that? I've been spelling it all morning long, it's just kind of walking.
Well, that's partly my fault for not, this is the second time I've actually operated a demonstration unit. What they say is that the 240 unit, which you saw here, produces the equivalent of 2 men breathing because of the CO2 that you're putting out.
And that's the only emission? smell like candy. Yeah, it doesn't smell
You
like-
said something about no, benzene and toluene
Yeah.
earlier.
That's going through the catalytic converter, and there's one on here.
He's using polyethylene, so it's putting off a wax-like smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my fault for something. It didn't smell like this when I practiced it last night.
We need time for one more question.
Part of the problem is that all the directions are in Japanese. And my Japanese is really rusty. And I tried to get Paul's help to translate it, but he was not cooperating. No, says, doesn't do anything with Japanese. So, I've got, please, if you're interested in more information, I got lots of it. Sign up or leave your card. That's, my wife is a pretty lady out there. Her name is Kate, it is not Havana, and please don't get me in trouble by calling her Havana White. But leave some information, and I'll be glad to send you some more. And we hope very much to have an installation here in Connecticut as soon as possible.
John, thank you very much.